It's a service we've been providing for a while. Especially you've been seeing all these new videos coming out when I talk about UI design and rapid prototyping. It's a service that allows us to sort of prototype software, whether that's websites, apps, any sort of software that's digital. We can prototype it within Adobe XD from wireframing, so creating the skeleton of the software, of the layout, how it works, what the buttons do and that sort of thing. We then bring that wireframe to life. We're not building the actual software with code and software engineers. We're actually prototyping a mock-up of what it's going to look like and start to create the visual process and make it interactive, so it's very close to the real thing. So we've been doing this since the start of Black Bear Creative. Essentially what we used to do was design them in Photoshop, and it was a very static mock-up of a website or sort of an app, of a new app, and we designed the screens and all the visual elements, which was cool. But now as our design software has improved, we can do more cool things now. So we can actually create a more of an interactive experience. So we can essentially create not only what it's going to look like, what the software is going to look like, but how it will work, and test that out with users. So we can actually create the links, we can create the user process and flesh that out more, so we can experiment with different things, get first-hand feedback from users. The reason why we've sort of moved on with and started working with this process purely because it's just easy to road test. We can get feedback from the client, or we can test it in-house and see creating this user journey doesn't work, or it doesn't make sense, it's too complicated. We can figure that out in the initial process of the wireframing and creating the interactive UI design. We can see that in that stage. So before it goes to development, we're already sort of figured out the things that don't work. Instead of figuring that out when it goes to the software engineers, and it costs a fortune for them to fix. So it's essentially, if we can nip that in the bud in this design phase, it saves a lot of money, saves a lot of time, and we don't have to sort of worry about giving actual code to people. We're just essentially giving them a link to a bunch of static images that are all linked together to make it look like it's the real thing. So that's one of the major benefits. So we get feedback faster and make changes faster. And look, this isn't new. This isn't a new process. This has been done for a couple of years now. You might hear of stuff like design sprints. A lot of the biggest software companies in the world use this process. This is just a real simplified version of it. This takes a lot of the guesswork from these software engineers. You're essentially coming with a more refined plan, a refined design, giving it to whatever software engineering firm you want, any developer that you want, and they don't have to make design decisions. They don't have to think about the little intricate things that should have been thought out previously. They can just focus on building. Also, what we can do with this process is test the limitations in terms of software capability. So what we'll do, and we'll collaborate with a lot of developers and software engineers in certain projects. We can design something, show it to them first, and get their feedback. Say, hey, look, is this possible? Can this be done? How long would this take? Okay, how much is it going to cost to do this crazy, out of this world idea? Figure out during this process and collaborate with everyone involved with the project. So we've worked with clients from everywhere. So from banking, retail, building, even mining as well. To simplify it even further, we'll break down the process. Basically, we design a carefully designed wireframe, which is the skeleton of the software, the skeleton of the app. It's very simplified, no color, no design elements, no photos, no nothing. It's just basically boxes and shapes to represent the layout of the design, so we can quickly see where things need to go, where's the best place to put buttons, to get the client or the software engineer's feedback. Once we do that and get approval from everyone, we go through and design a detailed high fidelity UI design So pretty much we try to design it as close to the real thing as possible. So we're putting the design elements in, we're putting the branding in, we're putting the images in, we're putting the copy, the text in, and we can collaborate with whoever we need to, and they can input their ideas. And also we can still make changes. We can still quickly make changes, and we might realize that, hey, look, putting these buttons stacked up in this particular order maybe isn't the best way for the user. We can test things out and sort of find our own little user bugs that we want to avoid before we go to this, give it to the software engineers and start coding anything. So, and we also have done in the past is help with the project management side of things. So once we do the prototype and then hand it off to the software engineers, of your choosing, or we can refer our own, we can help that process, that transfer process of making sure that the quality of the design is still the same, providing all the assets from the design, and just keeping everything consistent. So we've done that in the past as well. I've heard a lot of horror stories. People going overseas with no plan, no wireframe, no nothing, and coming back with something that is worthless, with an app that doesn't work or that looks terrible, because they didn't do the initial planning stages. For most people, that's a big investment. So this essentially minimizes that risk of the unknown. So you have more of an idea of what you're actually building, and you can even test out the actual prototype, like I said, with users, and you can get feedback, because you never know, you might get actual terrible feedback, not on how it works, but the actual overall concept of the idea. You might have this awesome idea for this app, and you think it's the next best thing, it's the next Facebook, the next Instagram, and you go and test it out, and you actually hear that this is just this really doesn't do anything for me, or this whole concept is pointless. So you can test these proof of concepts before you start investing all this money in actually building them. You can go through and pressure test your idea essentially. So I think that's another reason why we find these projects so beneficial. So hopefully this gives you a bit more context of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about UI design, rapid prototyping. I just want to make it a little more clearer in terms of what we do on that side of the business. So hopefully that's cleared things up. If you still don't know and you got questions, feel free to ask. And we'll see you guys in the next video. I thought I'd share with you a document we created back in 2019 outlining how to create a successful user interface project within 5 steps. So this is a framework we have been using for the last 3 years. We use this with all of our user interface projects. So this document breaks down the framework within 5 easy steps, goes through some useful tips that we wanted to share with you from our experience of doing these projects. It also allows you to get more involved, creating your own concepts, starting to do the planning, the wireframing side of things, and it also allows you to see where a user interface designer comes into the process, what their expectations are, what your expectations are of them, what do they provide, and how do you guys work together as well. So if you are an entrepreneur, a business owner, or someone trying to create an awesome app or some sort of innovative software, creating a new website or redesigning an old website, you can use this framework within your project and start creating your own prototype. To download the document, go through our supplied link, and then once you get onto the landing page, use the fill form, fill it out, and you'll get your free copy to download. Hopefully you find it useful for your next project. And like I said before, if you get stuck and you have any issues, feel free to reach out to us at info@blackbearcreative.com.au. Thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the next video.